Have we ever met? I've seen you in the war room for years.
Like glitched out there for a minute. You're
Yeah.
back, Lana.
Have we ever met in person
We met at VPCon,
this year or last
but
year?
that is all this year.
Oh, okay. Well, it's good to mostly meet you. But we've known each other
Yes.
for I've seen you around for years.
I feel like we have multiple circles that we overlap
Dude,
in.
I love when you meet somebody when I meet somebody, like I have this giant social circle and I feel like in real estate too, like especially I have this giant social circle and like especially in military. And then there's somebody else that has like the exact same social circle, but they're like once
One up.
just
Yeah.
completely adjacent to me, except and then we've never met. And I'm like, we are gonna be best friends because we like all the same
It's
people.
very it's very interesting how sometimes like I'll see on my friends, like, oh, you know but like I know you from over here and I know them from over here, but like how do you guys know each other? Yeah, it's always interesting to see some of those overlaps.
Yeah, yeah. Actually, I'm curious now. I'm going on here. We have I wonder how many mutual friends we have.
I would guess
Uh,
between War Room and real estate in general, we probably have at least 50,
oh yeah, at least.
maybe more.
I don't know why I can't see it. It won't show me. Anyway. Um, okay, well, how are you?
I am well. Yeah, I'm trying to remember. I think I met you. I was with Autumn and we were like on our way out to the pool or something. And she's like, oh my God, I see Alex. You gotta meet Alex.
I talked to Autumn the other day. I love Autumn. Yeah, yeah. 65 mutual friends. I actually thought it'd be way higher than
There you
that.
go.
Okay, well, I'm always curious. Like War Room's maybe a special case, but I'm always curious, like why, like, or I guess like what do you, what were you hoping to get anything out of this, or you just want to chat, or
I mean, I mostly think I just wanted to connect because we've never had a chance to connect one on one. So just to kind of figure out what, if anything, we can do to, help each other out and support each other. I guess I was just jotting down some notes as I was sitting here trying to figure out like what should we talk about. I guess probably number one on my list is just like generally podcast stuff. Like I have a very fledgling podcast. I just produced my 10th episode this week. So
congratulations?
yay, I've already produced more than like half the people who start a podcast. So, that's something. And I've already recorded like another five or six, so we're well ahead of the game. But it is very new, so I'm always open to ideas and suggestions for kind of like ways to streamline production. And I just hired a VA, so that's a whole other thing, like how to best maximize my time with them.
Yeah. I have a lot of thoughts on this. I've actually quit more podcasts than most people ever start. Um, I think what I'm going to do actually is I've been doing the problem with podcasts for a lot of times is like they're so structured and they're so
Hmm.
like planned that it doesn't what I found is it doesn't really work for me because I'm not structured or planned. And what works for me, if I look back at my personality, like or back at my history, not like what I want to do or what I think I should do or what might work, but like what I actually do is this. I put my Calendly link on the internet for anybody to join, and then I talk to strangers. And that's why the studio name is called Strangers. And I think I might just say,
Hmm.
hey, this is Alex talking to strangers. I have like probably and I never posted them until very recently. I haven't posted them. I've never even recorded them until very recently, but I've been doing this for like 5 years. And I say all that to say, if you can make something that you enjoy doing and you can take out the parts you don't like doing, then you will you will the keys as far as I can tell to podcasts, and I don't have a successful one, so just from the outside or from doing production for years, the keys are
Hmm.
you have to do it for a long time and you have to genuinely, truly, deeply enjoy it and find it. You have to be proud of it. And here's why. Nobody is podcasts are not a like Spotify is not a discovery platform.
Hmm.
Nobody's going to find your podcast because of the name or the title. They're going to find it by word of mouth.
Hmm.
And so the first person who has to yell this thing from the fucking rooftops as loud as they possibly can is you. And so you are not going to yell this thing as loud as you possibly can unless you are proud of it and you want to show it off.
Yeah, that's really good.
Yeah. So, and there's like more to it, but like that sort of idea that if you're like, hey, I'm gonna yell this thing and I'm gonna yell it for the next 5 years, then it'll work.
Hmm.
Because most people quit. And when I mean most, I mean, and when I mean by most people quit, I mean like everybody. Like
Hmm.
I'm not much of a quitter, and I've quit 4 podcasts. You know, so if you can just play the long game, but if you play the long game, if you
Hmm.
post 500 episodes and never say anything about it, then you'll get no downloads. So you have to play the long game, and you have to yell it from the mountaintops. Like, hey, I'm doing a podcast about this, and I'm proud of it, and I'm excited, and I would maybe love you as a guest, or I'd love for you to listen, or I'd love to give me a review, and just like you
Hmm.
have to feed that machine, and then you'll get some people that listen and enjoy it, and then they will spread it around, and like it will get a momentum machine. But the first person who has to yell it is you, and you have to yell it loudest, and you have to yell it consistently. But those 2 things. I mean, there's more. There's a lot more, but
Apparently, I'm going to be building blocks while I'm talking.
dude, that's okay. This is real life.
This is probably like a whole handful. She's like, I need this one. Go with this one. Oh, not like that. Okay, show me which one you want to go together.
is this is I don't have kids, but this I assume this is like mom's paying attention to somebody else. How dare she?
Basically, she was like quietly playing with blocks for like 30 minutes and didn't need me for anything. But now I'm at the computer. It's like, oh, I hear mom talking. There we go. Help me with something. It's
Yeah,
100% like that. Always.
yeah. I'm kind of that way. I can't. Nobody can have fun without me.
Yeah, it's fun though. I mean, I try to remind myself like this is the whole reason why I got into real estate is so that like when things like this need to happen, I can be available and I can flex my schedule and be home with the kiddo. She had her tonsils out last Friday, so normally she's at daycare, but she's got to stay home for a week and kind of take it easy, low key. So lots of ice cream and that's pretty much it for a week. Um, but yeah,
Poor
so it's
gal.
fun. She came with me the other day. We went to tour a potential property that I might purchase, and she, just came and sat in the corner with her iPad while I walked around and took a bunch of pictures. And, I think that's part of the fun too, is being able to involve my kids in what I'm doing and what I'm learning, and they get exposed to that early on. So
Yeah,
hopefully they will embrace the idea of thinking about things a little bit differently as they grow forward in their own lives.
it's funny. Yeah, immersion. It's the same for adults. Yeah, nice. Love that. Where do you where are you where are you buying property?
So currently the properties that I am involved with are in Jacksonville, North Carolina.
Oh,
And then not where I am, I'm in San Antonio. I would like to buy some properties here in San Antonio, but just have not found any that work for me yet, so still looking. The property that I went to see the other day was here locally. It's actually a property that we'd like to convert into residential assisted living.
so
So
popular right now.
you may or may not know that my background is actually in healthcare management. So I was on the healthcare side of things for 20 plus years in the Navy before I retired. And so initially, when I got into real estate, I really wanted to focus and make sure that I had like a solid foundation of, what is commercial real estate and how does it work before I did anything to try to layer those two things on top of each other. But I did hear about RAL early on and was like, oh, that could be something interesting that maybe, a little further down the line, I can kind of come back around and layer that background of healthcare on top of the real estate and figure out, how can I get some synergy there. So I've been doing it for long enough now that I'm like, okay, I want to take another look at this and see if now is the right time to kind of start moving forward on that front. So time will tell if
Yeah,
if now is the right time.
I love combining personal interests. It's such a like I call this my threat multiplier, my camera, because I'm like,
Yeah.
you know, it's a camera. You're like, okay, you can make money as a camera. I'm like, well, you can make money in real estate, but like I figured out how to ways make money by combining the two, and it's just
Hmm.
it's not that it's just who else can do that? You know, who else knows
Right. Well, and that
healthcare
gets
and
to like, what's your unique ability, right? I
yeah,
read 10x is easier than 2x this past year, and that's been a big part of what this year has been for me is sort of that self-discovery of like, okay, I've shed my identity as Tracy the naval officer, like, who am I? And when I stop looking at it from that lens, like what are the unique skills that I bring where I can add value that nobody else can. And so, yeah, that's
Yeah.
what I'm trying to work towards.
Yeah. Well, we all are, I think. It's hard because I'm always like, well, I don't know. Egos. Also, you get in it. You're like, oh, it's just a camera. It ain't no thing, right? It ain't a big deal. It's just a camera. And then you're like, dude, just not everybody does that. Not everybody knows healthcare, right? Or the military. Like Dave did such a good job of doing military plus real estate because
Yes.
there's just not that many other groups like that. Maybe I only know of two. I mean, there might be
Yeah.
more, but um,
Same. I really only know of two that are like doing it on a large scale.
yeah. So um, yeah, I love that. I don't know anything about residential assisted living, and I'm not moving towards that, but I do know some folks in San Antonio. I don't. I'm probably sure I know somebody that invests in Jacksonville, but not off the top of my head. But one of the things I'm doing right now actually is I'm building out a really robust CRM,
Mm-hmm.
or I'm having one built out to me. And one of the ideas I have is I want to be able to plug in where everybody lives,
Mm-hmm.
but then I want to be able to plug in where they invest. And then
Mm-hmm.
I want to be able to, like,
Yeah,
every time
because
I
it's
talk
not
to
always the
somebody,
same, right?
it's more than not, it's not the same. So then I want to be able to, like, while I'm talking to you, I want to scrub and say who
Mm-hmm.
lives in Jacksonville and be like, okay, let's spit out a list. Let's email these people and be like, hey, you guys need to know Tracy. And then, like, let's spit out another list that says here's all the people that invest in the secondary. Like, they live here, so here's people you can meet, and then here's the people you need to talk to about business, and be able to spit those out and do like some way to connect people. That's kind of where I'm
Yeah,
working out, just because that's my that's how I'm built. I'm just built to connect people.
yeah, I would say networking is definitely a superpower of yours. I think I I aspire to be that kind of person as well because I feel like I do have a lot of different places where I know people that aren't always overlapping. And so if I can be that person, even just in with multifamily syndications, like I've primarily established myself as a capital raiser. And part of why I love it is because I get to leverage my network, right? Like I find the people who are doing deals and I find the people who have money but don't have time to do deals. And it's like, how can I help bring those two worlds together? And it's that same sort of thing. It's like, who do I know that you could benefit from knowing and they could benefit from knowing you and, building that synergy from bringing people together. I love that.
Relationship business. Yeah, I'm working on the same. I'm working on that stuff right now. I just had a call with a buddy. He's like, hey, I got this deal and $10 million deal, but I need money, and I'm like, oh yeah, let's see. Maybe I can help.
Yeah. I know people.
Maybe.
Let's see who I know who knows people who who might be interested in investing where you are. Yeah. I mean that's what it's all about.
Yeah. One day they told me, say, hey, real estate's a relationship business. I'm like, oh, then I'm gonna win it.
You're like, I'm gonna win big time.
Yeah. All I have to do is talk to people all day. I will talk to. I have, in fact, my entire days. These, especially lately, because I've been doing these, and I'm gonna do more of
Hmm.
these. My entire days are just chatting people up um, and hopefully building out this CRM and then trying to, like, put together opportunities.
That sounds
Yeah.
awesome. That does sound like
Yeah.
a really fun day.
Yeah, yeah, I love it. So I get a little glued to the computer, which you know isn't as fun. But a lot of my calls I can take and I just walk. But I like recording them. One day I think you know my hope is I'm gonna make these public, and then it's not that I think many people will watch them as much as I like. There's a weird thing about podcasting or content. There's a weird thing that, like, even the people that don't consume your content, they see you as somebody who does that type of content, and that's like
Hmm.
that alone is powerful. So, for example, let me ask you, what's your podcast about?
So we talk mostly about the broader perspective of like financial freedom, designing a life that you love, but kind of through the lens of real estate, because most of my guests, the way that they have found success moving towards that life that they love is through real estate investing. So it's not specifically all real estate, but it's heavily skewed towards real estate as a very good path to get to financial freedom.
Sure. Yeah, it's a good one, especially over the last 10 years. So you start publishing that, you start, talking about it, and it's like, dude, people who don't even download your content will know. Like, you never have to listen to a single episode of Military to Millionaire to know that Dave if you Google him, you find out you see 300 episodes of Military to Millionaire. You're like,
Mhm.
oh, that's what he does, and he's been doing it a while. He's, you know what I mean. So it's just there's just like meta credibility that comes with it, and then they start seeing, especially if you have episodes. If you're like, oh, it's episode 200, they're like, that person does it. They're committed. They've been doing it a
Commitment.
while.
Yeah.
Yeah. Then they start. They're
Yeah.
like, they don't have to listen to an episode. You get all the social clout.
Yeah, my mentor who encouraged me to start the podcast, when she encouraged me to start it, I mean, I hadn't even been doing commercial real estate for like 6 months. I'm like, who, me? Like, I'm no expert. And she's like, that's it. She's like, you don't have to be the expert. She's like, take people on the journey with you. Talk about what you're learning, talk about what you're doing, have guests on who are further along in their path than you, have guests on who are not as far along as you, and everything in between. She's like, but just talk about it, why you love it, all of that. And then, essentially you're establishing this thought leadership platform. And that was her whole thing, was like, you need a thought leadership platform. You need a way that you can get your name out there, that you can build your brand, that you can talk about this stuff. And she's like, even if nobody listens to any episodes, she's like, that's the exact, basically the exact same thing that she said, was like, you're establishing your place in the real estate world. And it's just a part of that branding and kind of growing into it. So I was like, all right, I'll give it a try and see what happens.
Yeah, there's so many aspects to podcasting. I mean, especially people will go on most people will go on most podcasts pretty easily. So it's like you can just, it's a good networking tool. You're like, come on my show. And then you can kind of just like, now you have an in with this person. You get to talk to him for an hour, even if it's not yeah, it's just such a good, it's such a good marketing device, and just a networking tool and a credibility tool. And then you get to learn from people and get in their circle and
Yeah.
find out what's going on. And now I'm like, oh, now we're friends. So like, well, here's a good follow-up question. Are you going to the what events are you going to this year?
So, were you going to ask about Keystone?
I was gonna ask you at
I
Keystone.
really,
Yeah, I'm
I,
not going.
I, I really wanted to go, and I went to so many events last year. Like, first off, I joined a bunch of masterminds, like too many all at once, to where like I can't even really. Beautiful, thank you. Very nice. I love it. Um, I went to joined so many masterminds, and there were so many events. Like, I couldn't go to all the events for all the things. And I just felt like I was like in a million places and didn't have a lot of focus. So this year, I'm really trying to like dial it in a little bit. So I'm not trying to do 10 different things. Um, but because I did so much last year that like I really had to pick a handful of things this year. So as much as I wanted to go to Keystone, is the same weekend of another event that I had already committed to. So it just, the timing didn't work out. Um,
Uh,
but
yeah,
so I'm going to an event at the end of March, or I'm sorry, at the end of February. That is a quarterly event with one of the other masterminds that I'm in. I'm going to Costa Rica at the beginning of May for a women's only retreat. That's with GoBundance Women, so I'm super stoked about
dude, you
that.
are well connected.
And then we are going on a family Disney cruise this summer, and so those are like the next three big trips. So I'm pretty excited.
You're tapped. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
But last year I was doing like three times as many events. It was like at least once a month, if not two. I was just like, okay, we're gonna dial it back this year.
yeah.
Yeah.
I do a lot of events, and now I'm in a weird space where I'm like, I need to get paid for it. Because
There you
I'll
go.
bring my camera, and I'm like, I'll bring my camera or I'll speak. That's kind of what I'm trying
Hmm.
to get. That's not always the case, but like that's where I'd like to get to. But yeah, I, events. I hang out with Do you know Matt DeBoth?
I don't think so.
He's a he's an old war room guy. He's a Marine, and him and
Okay.
I are like we are like very similar human beings, and I love him to pieces. But like
Sorry,
we
Matt
ended up
DeBoff. I'm listening.
yeah, Matt. So we end up going to these conferences together. And I probably see him 2, 3 times a year, and all we do is drink, and I love it. But it's like 2 days of just we just drink, and how do I say it? It's like I told him today. I was like, hey man, I'm hanging out with you. I've been hanging out with you for 4 years now. I love drinking and hanging out. I was like, but this relationship has no return on investment. I'm at this conference and I'm not meeting new people and I'm not doing any business with you. I was like, I'll sit here and drink, but during the year we have to generate a profit. That's the only way this would be worth it. So now I just hit him with that real hard. And I was like, I cannot do this with you. We have got to be profitable. We've got to be productive. So now I think we're gonna do some deals together this year. Um, but yeah, conferences definitely have that like as a downfall. Like if you're not there for business, if you're if you're just there for fun, it's like fun, and then after a while you're like, oh, I'm just wasting my time. So I think there's definitely like a little bit of a strategic balance you gotta hit.
Yeah. Like this year, I mean, this year was kind of like year zero or year one, however you want to call it for me with commercial real estate. And so, I mean, I went all in. I went all in hard, and I was networking my ass off. But I was like, I
Yeah,
can't maintain this pace. Like,
yeah. You did year one. You did Go Abundance and War Room and all those conferences. That's a lot.
yeah, yeah. I joined two multifamily masterminds plus Go Abundance, and then
Which
War
multifamily
Room,
masterminds?
ADPI,
Oh my
seven
God, you
figure
went,
multifamily, and the Grant Cardone Real Estate Club.
dude. You threw some money down.
I did. I mean, in hindsight, like one of the two big ones would have been more than enough, but I didn't know what I didn't know, right? Like a year ago, I wasn't even in a mastermind. Like, what's a mastermind, you know? So it was like I
Yeah.
retired, and I was like, okay, I'm going to do real estate, and then I went to an event that Bill Allen had hosted at his headquarters. That was sort of like a spin-off of a free online thing that Grant Cardone had done, which I
Uh huh.
never would have been able to do when I was still on active duty because it was like a 5 day, like virtual training thing online. I had just retired. I didn't have anything to do. I was hanging out at home. So I was like, okay, cool. I'll go to this free 5 day seminar or whatever. And then Bill, in his brilliance, basically did like a spin-off event. So like Grants was all about business for 5 days. And then Bill was like, hey, I'm going to do another 2 day event that takes everything that you just learned from Grant, and I'm going to show you how to tailor it specifically to real estate.
Okay.
And I didn't have anything else going on, so I was like, hey, let's go to Nashville for the weekend. Like, this guy's hosting like a free event at his headquarters. Like, why not? So we went, and I mean, it was great because I got a chance to meet Bill, to see who were the type of people that he brings into his, sphere of influence. I got to meet several people that are part of his team, and like immediately in that room felt like these are my people. Like I belong here. Like I feel comfortable in this space. Like these are the type of people that I want to learn from. And
Sure.
so that made the decision to join seven figure multifamily really easy because I was like, okay, I know that this is a group that I want to learn from and that I want to be around. And
Yeah.
then sort of on
Jason
the
and
heels of that was the whole like also join the Grant Cardone thing, which in hindsight, wasn't necessary, but it's been a fun year
yeah,
anyway.
that's Jason and Peely. They're part of the
Yes.
multifamily, right? Yeah.
Yeah, Jason and Pili Urusi and Chad King are kind of like the three leads for the multifamily group. Obviously, with Bill Allen being involved as the overall head for seven figure.
Gotcha. Yeah. Um, dude, I love the all in. That's great. Do that same thing with your podcast and it'll work. Like that same all in. And then it's just,
Hmm.
the hard part is just now you have to do it all in for a long time. But
Yeah.
um, podcasts are cool, like, because I don't know, there's always new guests coming. So, like, even if you're like, I don't want to do this today, you talk to somebody and you're like, dude, you fired me up. This is great. So,
Yeah, it's been interesting because I mean, obviously the first few was just like, okay, who do I know? So like I interviewed Jason, I interviewed Peely.
mhm.
I actually still have to interview Chad and Bill. Those are pending. But like Adam Whitney was one of my very first guests.
I'm
I
helping
think
Adam
I signed.
launch a podcast.
Yeah, he mentioned when I interviewed him that he was working with you on his, and I think finally doing my interview with him was part of what like put me over the edge to join the War Room because I'd been talking to Marcus for months about joining the War Room. Like every time we would go to an event, he'd be like, "Hey, don't forget about the War Room." And I'm like, "Dude, I'm already in so many masterminds, like I can't do another one." But then I met
This one's the
Autumn.
best.
and she was talking about how great the war room is. And then I talked to Adam, and he's like, "Yeah, man, the war room." And I'm like, "Man, like all these great people in my network are telling me how great this mastermind is." I was like, "I guess I'm gonna have to check it out." Um, and
Yeah.
Ron Angel,
Yeah. Oh, your audio went out.
this building to convert it to a residential assisted living, and so I went on the A Place for Mom website, which is like a place where people who are looking to place their parents go to look for residential assisted living. And I mean, I had to put in my phone number in order to get access to like what are the places in my area that are offering these services. And I mean, they've called me no less than 20 times in the last 24 hours. Like they're they are serious about it. I'm like, I don't actually need to put my parents in a facility. I just needed to see what was going on in the network. Um, but anyway, I'll probably have to answer and tell them that at some point. Um, but yeah, masterminds, it's been an incredible year. I've met so many incredible people from, taking that step. And I think, one of the things Bill actually said at that very first thing that I went to was this idea of like, you can learn pretty much anything that you would want to know for free on the internet. He's like, you don't have to do this. He's like, but when you put yourself in a space where you're in a room with people who are already doing and interested in doing the same things that you are, with people who are taking it seriously, with people who are going all in, he's like, you're going to learn that information and be able to apply it so much faster. And the trajectory at which you can do what you want to do is going to be exponential compared to if you're sitting there just like looking up stuff on YouTube and trying to figure out how to do it all on your own.
Yeah, there's almost no education at this point with the internet that's worth paying for. What humans are going to do, and I've been saying this for 2 years now, and actually I'm that's why I came out and worked for Better Life, and that's why I love the War Room, is you are paying for access to people who are willing to pay for access to people. And
Yeah.
that is so powerful, and it doesn't have to be complicated, and people, they fucking church it up with education and courses and yada yada yada, and I'm like, no, you're just you're you're not going to take the course, or very maybe you will, but like that's not what's going to get you over the finish line. The finish line is like, hey, I'm willing to put skin in the game. I'm willing to come travel. I'm willing to show up, and I'm willing to put it on the line. And that shows your level of commitment. It shows their level of commitment. And now you're like, now we're the same. We want to do the same thing. We want to. We're attracted to the same like sort of vehicle. We like the same group. We have the same amount of. We're willing to put up the same amount of resources.
Yeah.
We're willing to take the time, the sacrifice, like all those things. You're like, I just put a big barrier in front of you to make sure that you're my people, and you passed. And now, well, there's only 12 of us, so we might as well. We're going to do some business together, or
There you go. Yeah.
it could
Whatever,
be 300,
it is,
but yeah, I mean 300 out of, I don't know how many people are in 7-figure multifamily, but I assume it's what, is a couple hundred, maybe.
it's probably, it might be close to 200. It's actually still a pretty small uh,
Yeah,
group,
but
which
that's
I love because I get one-on-one coaching. I get direct access to Jason, Peely, and Chad. Like we do small group accountability, very similar to like the I was going to call them pods, squads that we do in the
squads.
war room, pods and GoBundance, squads in the war room. It's like, but that idea of like it puts you in a place where you've got people who you can be vulnerable with, who are going to hold you accountable to do the things that you say are important, who are going to call you out on your BS, but who are also going to be there to support you when you need it.
Well, it's
I think it's really hard to find otherwise.
yeah, well, and it's 200 people out of 350 million. Like it's real. You're like, these are the right 200. So I love that.
Yeah.
Hey, I gotta stop here. I got another call.
Yeah.
Dude, it's really good to meet you.
Yeah. Likewise. I'm
Uh,
glad we got a chance to connect one on one without all the craziness of BPCon going on.
yeah, well, I work BPCon, so it's always crazy for me. I'm trying to
Yeah.
be social and work. Let me know, like, reach out, text me or whatever. Let me know how I can help. Send me your podcast info. Would love to see it. Let me know if you have any questions. Text me, email me, whatever. Happy to help.
Okay. Awesome. It was great to connect. Likewise, if
Are
there's
you
anything
are,
that I can do,
are you going to BPCon this year?
don't know yet.
It's in
We've only
Mexico.
planned out to July. So I'm like, if I can turn that into a family vacation, I'll be there. Otherwise, I'm
Yeah.
not sure.
No sweat. No sweat.
All
All
right.
right, Tracy.
Talk to you soon. Take care.
Bye.
Bye.